Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Deep Dive.
Always great to be back.
Today we're diving into Keke Palmer's book, Master of Me.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean...
She's such a dynamic person.
So dynamic.
And this book is just like a really raw look at how she's like navigated fame and found her own voice and just like thrived in this crazy industry.
And you know what makes this book so powerful is that she doesn't just tell her story.
Right.
She digs into these underlying themes, like the idea that performance is something we all do.
Oh, it's interesting.
Whether we're on a stage or just navigating everyday interactions.
So she sees performance as like more than just entertainment.
Exactly. She talks about how from a young age she learned to separate her true self, Lauren, from the Keke Palmer persona that the public sees.
Wow.
And that separation was actually like a survival tactic in the world of entertainment.
So it's like she created this kind of armor, a way to protect her authentic self from all those pressures of fame.
Precisely. And what's fascinating is that she doesn't see this as a negative thing.
Right.
She actually talks about how consciously choosing how we present ourselves can be a tool for growth and empowerment.
So it's like we all put on different masks depending on the situation, right?
Exactly.
We adapt our behavior and presentation based on who we're with and what we're trying to achieve.
And Keke's point is that we have more control over those masks than we think.
Right.
We can choose how we want to be perceived, even if it's just a subtle shift in our demeanor or the way we express ourselves.
It takes away some of that feeling of like being a passive participant in how people perceive us.
Totally.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really empowering.
Okay, I want to jump to that story about her working with Corbin Bleu in Jump In.
Oh, yeah.
Because it feels like a perfect example of what we're talking about, right?
It does.
Even as a teenager, she was already thinking about these on-set dynamics, feeling kind of awkward about that on-screen kiss because she saw him more like a brother.
That anecdote really highlights how even young performers are acutely aware of the performance element of their work and how personal feelings can get tangled up in those professional situations.
Yeah, it's like that added layer of her having to navigate those potentially awkward moments while still being a teenager.
It's a lot to handle.
It is a lot to handle.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to the pressure young performers face.
Yeah.
And it also highlights the importance of having a support system.
Absolutely.
Remember that moment with Dolly Parton on set?
Oh my gosh, yes. When Keke was feeling uncomfortable about filming a romantic scene with a much older actor.
Yes.
And Dolly just saw that she was struggling and kind of whispered.
Yeah, she whispered to her, "Oh, kiss those pretty old lips." That small gesture speaks volumes about the power of empathy and understanding in a high-pressure environment.
Beautiful.
And it seems like those moments of genuine connection were incredibly important for Keke.
Yeah.
Especially early in her career.
It makes you wonder how many young performers don't have that kind of support, you know?
Oh, totally.
Someone who sees them and makes them feel safe and valued.
For sure.
And that's something to think about, right?
Absolutely.
How much easier would it be to navigate a challenging industry if you had someone like Dolly in your corner?
100%.
Okay, so speaking of pressure.
Okay.
This brings us to Keke's experiences with the darker side of fame, particularly the challenges she faced as a child star.
She's incredibly honest about how fame, especially at a young age, can just warp your sense of self and create this pressure to grow up way too fast.
Like always be on to be perfect, to represent her community flawlessly.
It's a burden most of us can't even imagine.
And she was dealing with all of this while also navigating the complex dynamics of race in Hollywood.
Right.
She mentions feeling like she had to be twice as good to get half the recognition with absolutely no room for error.
And that's a sobering reminder that even with talent and drive, systemic biases can create immense pressure and limit opportunities.
It's heavy.
It is heavy.
It forces us to ask ourselves how many talented individuals are overlooked or held back by those same biases.
It's a question we all need to be asking.
Definitely. Now, we'd be remiss not to talk about that incident on the set of Barbershop 2.
Oh, right.
Where she had that very public emotional outburst.
It's a raw example of how those pressures that she was talking about can manifest.
Yeah.
Especially for a child trying to function in an adult world.
And honestly, it's a moment that many of us can relate to regardless of our background.
Right.
That feeling of being overwhelmed, of having to maintain composure when you just want to scream.
Yeah.
We've all been there in some form or another.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we're all human.
Yeah.
We have limits to how much pressure we can handle.
Totally.
And even those who seem to have it all together still have moments where they crack.
Totally.
What's important is how we learn from those moments and develop healthier coping mechanisms.
One of the things I admire about Keke is that She doesn't shy away from sharing those moments where she struggled.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't pretend to have it all figured out.
Right.
She actually dives into her complicated relationship with traditional markers of success, like reviews and awards.
That's right. She talks about learning to prioritize the feedback of her collaborators and her audience
Yeah,
over external validation.
I love that.
She sees those relationships as far more meaningful than any trophy or glowing review.
It's such a powerful shift in perspective
It is.
because it's easy to get caught in that trap of chasing validation from the outside world, especially in a field where you're constantly being judged.
Yeah, for sure.
But Keke's approach reminds us that true fulfillment comes from knowing you've done your best work,
Yeah.
connected with the people who matter most.
Exactly. It's about defining success on your own terms, not letting external factors dictate your worth.
Which brings us to another major theme in the book, owning your narrative.
Owning your narrative. I love that.
And this is where Keke gets very candid about her experiences with colorism in the industry.
One of the most impactful moments in the book is how she addressed that viral moment where her success was being compared to another actress.
Yes.
And the comparison was so clearly rooted in colorism,
Right.
and she refused to let that narrative define her.
It's that tweet where she's just like, I'm the youngest talk show host ever, the first black woman to star in her own show on Nickelodeon, and the youngest and first black Cinderella on Broadway. I'm an incomparable talent, baby. This is Keke Palmer.
Exactly.
A powerful declaration of self-worth.
Oh my gosh.
She was basically saying, I'm not playing your game of comparison. I'm defining my own success, and my achievements speak for themselves.
And that's such a crucial lesson, and it applies to so many aspects of life.
For sure.
You know, we're constantly being bombarded with messages about what success looks like, who we should be comparing ourselves to, and how we should measure our own worth.
Right.
But Keke's story reminds us that we have the power to reject those narratives and define our own path.
It's about recognizing that our journey is unique and that comparing ourselves to others is ultimately a futile exercise.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's about choosing to focus on our own growth and celebrating our own achievements rather than getting caught up in someone else's definition of success.
I love that. And speaking of defining our own path, Keke's book also delves into the importance of setting boundaries.
Yes.
Especially in an industry where personal and professional lines can get blurred.
Absolutely. And this is where she gets incredibly vulnerable.
Right.
Sharing her experience of navigating a relationship with an older man when she was a teenager.
Yeah, and she talks about the power imbalances in that relationship and the emotional toll it took on her. It's a reminder that we need to be advocates for ourselves, especially when we're young and figuring things out.
Yeah.
It's okay to say no, even to people we admire or feel indebted to.
It's about recognizing that our needs and boundaries are valid,
Yes.
regardless of our age or status.
Absolutely. And this theme of setting boundaries connects to another powerful story she shares about her experience working with Usher.
Yes, the incident where she felt pressured to participate in a music video in a way that made her uncomfortable.
Right.
She talks about how, even though she was a fan of his, she ultimately found the strength to say no.
I love that it's such a powerful example of how we can grow and learn to prioritize our well-being, even when it means disappointing people we respect. And it speaks to the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who will respect our boundaries and support our decisions.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our worth isn't tied to our willingness to please others.
And as Keke's story unfolds, we see how becoming a mother brought a whole new level of awareness to the importance of boundaries and self-worth.
Absolutely. She talks about this deep instinctive connection she felt with her son and how his needs helped her prioritize her own.
Like motherhood unlocked this fierce protectiveness within her, not just for her son, but for herself as well.
Totally.
And that realization often leads to a deeper understanding of our own needs and a stronger commitment to setting boundaries.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It's a beautiful example of how life transitions, even challenging ones, can be catalysts for personal growth.
And it's not just about setting boundaries for ourselves.
Right.
It's also about teaching those boundaries to our children.
Yeah.
Keke talks about wanting to raise her son to be confident, assertive, and respectful of himself and others.
It's about breaking those cycles of people-pleasing and teaching the next generation to value their own well-being.
Which is so powerful.
It is powerful.
You know, it makes you think about the ripple effect our choices have on the people around us, especially our children.
Absolutely. Our actions speak louder than words, and our children are constantly learning from us, both consciously and unconsciously.
Now, speaking of learning from others, there's this really heartwarming anecdote in the book about Keke's mother.
Oh, yeah.
It really illustrates this idea of intergenerational empowerment.
You mean the part where Keke's mom, Sharon, actually started finding her own voice and pursuing her own creative passions?
Yes.
After seeing Keke's success?
But it's like Keke's courage to pursue her dreams inspired her mother to do the same.
Amazing.
Like, it shows that it's never too late to tap into your potential and embrace your passions.
100%.
It's beautiful. And it makes you think about the ways we might be unintentionally limiting ourselves or the people around us by not fully embracing our own potential.
Totally.
What if by chasing our dreams, we're actually paving the way for others to do the same?
It's a profound thought. It is.
Yeah, so I want to shift gears a bit and talk about Keke's journey of finding purpose beyond traditional structures.
Yeah.
This is where we see her entrepreneurial spirit really take flight.
She talks about her decision to go independent in her music career and the sense of freedom it brought her.
And she uses this brilliant analogy, comparing it to quitting a 9-to-5 job and choosing a path that aligns with your personal values and goals.
It's about taking control of your destiny and creating a life that feels authentic to you, even if it means stepping outside of the traditional systems and structures.
And in Keke's case, that meant creating KeyTV, her digital network, that's all about empowering diverse creators and providing a platform for authentic storytelling.
I love that.
It's like she took all the frustration and limitations she experienced within the traditional entertainment industry and channeled them into creating something entirely new.
It's amazing.
It is.
It's a testament to her vision, her entrepreneurial spirit, and her unwavering commitment to creating opportunities for others.
It's super inspiring.
It is.
And it's such an example of how we can use our platforms, no matter how big or small, to create positive change in the world.
It's about recognizing that we don't have to wait for permission to pursue our dreams or to make a difference.
Right.
We can create our own opportunities and build our own platforms.
And this ties back to Keke's overall message of owning your narrative and defining success on your own terms.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our own destinies and to create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
Yes, it's about finding our voice and using it to make a positive impact in the world.
Love it.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on one more theme that really resonated with me. Keke's reflections on embracing growth and evolution.
This is where she gets really insightful about how millennials are navigating the ever-changing landscape of culture and technology.
She talks about how our generation grew up during the rise of social media and the internet and how that's shaped our worldview in ways we're still trying to understand.
But she also acknowledges that we need to be open to new ways of thinking and creating as the world continues to evolve.
She sees this like resistance to change that she's observed among some millennials as a potential pitfall. It's like we're holding on to the ways we've always done things, even when they're no longer serving us.
And Keke challenges us to be more adaptable. To recognize that the perspectives of younger generations are just as valuable as our own, and that we can all learn from each other.
It's about letting go of the need to be right all the time and embracing the possibility that there might be a better way.
And it's about recognizing that growth and evolution are essential parts of life. We're never truly finished learning or growing, and that's a beautiful thing.
It's about embracing the unknown and trusting that we'll find our way, even when the path ahead seems uncertain.
Beautifully said.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From Keke's early days as a child star to her journey of self-discovery and empowerment.
Yes.
But there's still so much more to explore.
So much more.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve into her experiences with motherhood, her entrepreneurial ventures, and her evolving relationship with fame.
Can't wait.
We'll also explore her insights on forgiveness, patience, and finding joy in authenticity.
This is going to be good.
So stay tuned for more insights from Master of Me.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Okay, so where we left off, we were talking about Keke's journey of growth and evolution.
Right.
Particularly as a millennial navigating a constantly shifting world.
It's fascinating how she encourages us to embrace change rather than resist it. Especially in an age where everything feels like it's moving at warp speed.
And she points out that resistance to change can sometimes stem from a fear of the unknown. Clinging to the familiar, even when it no longer serves us.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's something we see playing out in so many areas of society, right?
Oh, totally.
The tension between like the old ways of doing things and the need to adapt to new realities.
Oh, 100%.
So Keke challenges us to be more open to new perspectives,
Right.
to recognize that we don't have all the answers,
Yeah.
and that learning is a lifelong process.
I love that.
She actually has this great anecdote about her experience at the Met Gala working with designer Sergio Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
She initially doubted herself, but he saw her potential in like the fashion world.
Yeah, and his belief in her really helped her redefine her relationship with fashion.
It's a reminder that sometimes we need someone else to see our potential and encourage us to step outside of our comfort zones.
For sure.
It makes you think about all the times we've held ourselves back because of self-doubt. What if we had someone in our corner like Sergio, who believed in us even when we didn't believe in ourselves?
Powerful question.
So speaking of growth,
Okay.
one of the most powerful themes in Master of Me is Keke's exploration of forgiveness.
It's huge.
And she talks about forgiveness on multiple levels, both of others and perhaps more importantly of ourselves.
She shares this really moving story about her evolving relationship with a former collaborator and how forgiveness allowed her to let go of past hurts and move forward.
I love that.
It's a reminder that holding on to resentment only hurts us in the long run.
It's like that saying, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Exactly. Forgiveness isn't about condoning someone's actions or letting them off the hook.
Right.
It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of that negativity and allowing ourselves to heal.
And that process of forgiveness often starts with self-forgiveness.
Totally.
Keke talks about the importance of letting go of perfectionism and accepting that mistakes are part of the growth process.
It's about recognizing that we're all works in progress.
Right.
And we're all going to stumble and fall along the way.
Where?
What matters is that we learn from those experiences and keep moving forward.
So it's about extending grace to ourselves, recognizing that we're doing the best we can with the knowledge and resources we have at any given moment.
Exactly. And that self-compassion can be incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
It allows us to release the shame and guilt that often hold us back and create space for growth and transformation.
So as we move into the latter part of Master of Me,
Yeah.
Keke leaves us with some insightful reflections on patience.
Oh, patience. Yeah.
Something she admits she's had to work on throughout her life.
She's very self-aware about how her quick processing speed can sometimes lead to impatience with others,
Right.
particularly those who don't move at her pace.
And she shares this really relatable anecdote about a conversation with a friend
Yeah.
where they realized their criticism of a younger person might have stemmed from like a generational difference in perspective. It's a reminder that we all process information and experiences at different speeds, and that we need to be patient and understanding with each other.
I love that.
It's about meeting people where they are recognizing that everyone is on their own unique journey and that we can learn from those who have different perspectives than our own.
It's so true.
And this idea of learning from others is like a core theme throughout Master of Me.
It is.
Keke constantly emphasizes the importance of community and collaboration, how her success is not like a solo endeavor.
Right. She talks about how her family has always been her anchor, her
Right.
source of love and support.
Yes.
And she extends that sense of community to her collaborators, her team, and even her fans.
I love that.
It's a reminder that we're all interconnected.
Yeah,
And that true success is often a collective effort.
absolutely. And she doesn't just talk about it. She actually walks the walk.
Yes.
Remember that anecdote about how her mom, Sharon, became a breakout star on KeyTV?
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's a perfect example of how she uses her platform to uplift and empower those around her.
And it started with Sharon just having a few lines in Keke's directorial debut, Big Boss. And it just blossomed from there.
It's so heartwarming to see how their relationship has evolved and how they both support each other's creative endeavors.
It's beautiful. It's a testament to the power of family and the joy of collaborative creation.
So I want to shift gears a bit and talk about something that I think is incredibly important for people to hear,
Okay.
especially from someone as successful as Keke. Her experiences with mental health, particularly postpartum anxiety.
Oh, yeah, she's so open about that.
She is.
Her honesty about those struggles is so refreshing and so needed.
Yeah.
She talks about the paranoia, the intrusive thoughts she experienced after becoming a mother, and how she had to learn to navigate those challenges.
She doesn't sugarcoat it at all.
No, she doesn't.
She describes those postpartum feelings as mental warfare,
Wow.
which is a really powerful image.
It is powerful. It speaks to the intensity of those emotions and the isolation that many new mothers experience.
And it's a reminder that even those who seem to have it all together, who are successful and accomplished,
All right.
still struggle with mental health challenges.
Yeah, her willingness to share her story helps normalize those experiences
Yeah.
and break down the stigma surrounding mental health.
It encourages others to seek help and support when they need it, without feeling ashamed or alone.
And it reminds us that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
So as we talk about strength,
Yeah.
I think it's important to highlight Keke's incredible resilience.
Oh, she is so resilient.
She's faced so many challenges throughout her life, both personal and professional, but she's never given up on herself or her dreams.
No, she hasn't.
She's constantly evolving, pushing herself to grow, and finding new ways to express her creativity.
Remember that story about how she was initially cut from the pilot that launched Pretty Little Liars? It's a perfect example of how what we perceive as setbacks can sometimes lead to even greater opportunities.
It's like if she had gotten that role, she might not have been available for the projects that really catapulted her career.
It's wild how life works out sometimes.
It is wild.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes the things we don't get are actually blessings in disguise.
Totally.
And it speaks to her adaptability and her ability to bounce back from disappointment.
Right.
She doesn't dwell on what could have been. She focuses on the path that's unfolding before her.
Love that.
Okay, so as we delve deeper into Master of Me,
Yeah.
I want to talk about this idea of mastering oneself,
Okay.
which is really at the heart of Keke's message.
It's not about achieving some unattainable level of perfection or
Huh.
having all the answers.
No.
It's about embracing the ongoing journey of self-discovery and growth.
She talks about learning to navigate the ups and downs of life,
Right.
to find strength in vulnerability, and to embrace change as a catalyst for transformation.
And she emphasizes the importance of self-awareness,
Yes.
of understanding your strengths and weaknesses, your values and your non-negotiables.
Absolutely.
It's about tuning in to your inner guidance,
Mm-hmm.
trusting your instincts, and making choices that align with your authentic self.
And she even includes some great self-assessment exercises in the book to help readers apply these concepts to their own lives.
I love that.
So it's like she's giving us a roadmap for self-discovery,
Yeah,
a set of tools we can use to navigate our own journeys.
totally.
Now, before we move on, I want to talk about Keke's journey in the music industry.
Okay.
She's very candid about the challenges she faced,
Mm-hmm.
especially early in her career, and how those experiences shaped her as an artist.
She talks about feeling like she had to compromise her artistic vision
Yeah.
to fit into the mold that the industry expected of her.
It's like she was being told, this is how you have to sound. This is how you have to look. This is how you have to behave if you want to be successful.
It's so limiting,
It is.
especially for a young artist who's still trying to find her voice.
But instead of giving up, she made the bold decision to go independent,
Yes.
to take control of her music and her narrative.
It was a risk, but it ultimately allowed her to find her true voice as an artist.
And that decision led her to create Diva Girl,
Oh, yes.
her girl group. That's like a fusion of music, comedy, and satire.
It's so cool.
Like, she's taken all those frustrating experiences in the industry and channeled them into something that's both entertaining and empowering.
I love that.
Now, one of the things I found really interesting in Master of Me was Keke's reflections on the evolving landscape of culture and technology, especially as a millennial.
Right. She observes how millennials have a unique perspective because we grew up during the rise of social media. But she also acknowledges that we need to be open to new ways of thinking and creating
Right.
as the world continues to change.
She talks about this resistance to change that she's observed among some millennials, this reluctance to embrace the perspectives of younger generations.
She encourages us to be more adaptable,
Yeah.
to recognize that our ways of doing things aren't always the best or the only ways.
She uses a great example to illustrate this point.
Okay.
She talks about how she's had to adjust her approach to social media as new platforms like TikTok have emerged.
It's a reminder that we need to be lifelong learners,
Right.
constantly adapting to new technologies and evolving alongside the world around us.
And I have to mention this because it just made me smile.
What's that?
Her comment about how dancing on TikTok is really freaking difficult.
I love that.
It's just such a great example of her self-deprecating humor
Yeah,
and her ability to not take herself too seriously.
totally.
Okay, I want to shift gears again and touch on something that's really central to Keke's message.
Okay.
Her emphasis on personal growth and self-discovery.
It's a theme that runs throughout the entire book.
He does.
She's constantly challenging herself to grow, to learn new things, to step outside of her comfort zone.
And she encourages all of us to do the same.
Right.
To embrace the journey of self-discovery and never stop learning and evolving.
She talks about how she's learned to view mistakes as opportunities for growth, to forgive herself and others, and to find strength and vulnerability.
She also emphasizes the importance of self-care.
Yes.
Of taking time for ourselves to recharge and reconnect with our inner voice.
She shares some really practical tips for cultivating self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like journaling, practicing gratitude, and setting boundaries.
Right. And she encourages us to be intentional about our choices, to make decisions that align with our values and goals.
It's about creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling, both personally and professionally.
And speaking of fulfillment,
Okay.
I want to highlight one of the most inspiring aspects of Keke's story, her unwavering commitment to making a positive impact in the world.
She's amazing.
She is.
She's constantly using her platform to amplify important causes,
Yeah.
to mentor young people, and to inspire others to pursue their dreams.
And she sees activism as an integral part of her identity,
Right.
not something separate from her work or her personal life.
She talks about how she's learned to use her voice to speak out against injustice, to advocate for equality, and to make a difference in her community.
And she encourages all of us to find our own unique ways to make a positive impact.
Yeah.
Whether it's through volunteering, donating to causes we care about, or simply using our voices to speak up for what's right.
It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and equitable world.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to circle back to Keke's incredible work ethic.
Yeah,
She's achieved so much at such a young age.
she has.
And it's clear that her success is a result of both talent and hard work.
Absolutely. She talks about her dedication to her craft, her willingness to put in the hours, and her commitment to constantly learning and growing.
She doesn't shy away from the fact that success requires effort. And she encourages us to embrace the grind and never stop pushing ourselves to be our best.
She talks about the importance of setting goals, of having a vision for what you want to achieve, and of taking consistent action toward your dreams.
And she emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with a supportive team.
Yes.
With people who believe in you and who push you to be your best.
It's about creating a network of collaborators, mentors, and cheerleaders who help you stay motivated and focused on your goals.
And Keke is a prime example of someone who's built an incredible team around her.
She has.
From her family to her management team to her creative collaborator. She's surrounded herself with people who support her vision and who help her bring her dreams to life.
So as we move into the final chapters of Master of Me, Keke gets really real about the pressures of fame and the importance of maintaining a sense of self amidst all the noise.
It's like she's pulling back the curtain.
Yeah.
And showing us the reality of what it means to live your life in the public eye.
She talks about the constant scrutiny that comes with being a celebrity and how she's learned to navigate those challenges.
She shares some really insightful tips for staying grounded, like setting boundaries with the media, prioritizing her mental health, and surrounding herself with a supportive inner circle.
It's about recognizing that fame doesn't define you.
Right.
And that it's important to maintain a sense of normalcy and authenticity in your personal life.
And she talks about the importance of using her platform for good.
Yeah.
Of leveraging her influence to amplify important causes and to inspire others.
She sees fame as an opportunity to make a positive impact. And she encourages us to use our own platforms, no matter how big or small, to make a difference in the world.
One thing that really struck me in this section of the book was Keke's honesty about the emotional toll that fame can take.
Oh, for sure.
It's not all glitz and glamour.
No, it's not.
She talks about the challenges of maintaining relationships, of dealing with criticism and negativity, and of navigating the constant pressure to be on all the time.
It's a reminder that fame can be isolating.
Yeah.
And that it's essential to have a strong support system and healthy coping mechanisms to deal with the unique challenges that come with being in the public eye.
And she talks about the importance of self-care.
Yes.
Of taking time for herself to recharge and reconnect with her inner voice.
She shares some really practical tips for maintaining a healthy work-life balance.
Yeah.
Like setting boundaries with work commitments, prioritizing time with loved ones, and engaging in activities that bring her joy and fulfillment.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that your well-being is paramount and that it's okay to say no to protect your mental and emotional health.
And Keke's story is a powerful reminder that success doesn't have to come at the expense of your happiness.
It's so true.
She's learned to prioritize her well-being,
Mm-hmm.
to find joy in the simple things, and to create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling, both personally and professionally.
Okay, so as we wrap up this section of our deep dive, I want to circle back to something Keke talks about towards the end of the book, legacy.
It's a powerful concept.
It is.
This idea of thinking about the impact we want to have on the world and what we want to be remembered for.
She talks about wanting to be remembered as someone who used her platform for good, who inspired others to pursue their dreams, and who made a positive difference in the world.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to leave a mark on the world, to make a difference in the lives of others, even in small ways.
Absolutely.
And she encourages us to think about the legacy we want to leave behind.
Yeah.
To consider how we want to be remembered, and to take action towards creating a world that we're proud to be a part of.
It's about recognizing that our actions have ripple effects.
Yeah.
And that we have the power to make a positive impact no matter how small it might seem.
It's about living a life that aligns with our values and using our voices to make a difference.
And it's about inspiring others to do the same.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's amazing how Keke manages to pack so much wisdom and insight into Master of Me.
Right. It's like she's having a conversation with you,
It really is.
sharing all those experiences and lessons.
And she doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
No, not at all.
Heartbreak, betrayal, the pressures of fame.
But she finds that silver lining.
Always.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Master of Me, I want to talk about one of the most resonant metaphors in the book.
Yep.
The idea of being like water.
Ah, yes.
Keke talks about how water adapts to its surroundings,
Right.
flows around obstacles, finds new paths.
It's a powerful metaphor for navigating the ever-changing landscape of life.
It is like she's saying rigidity breaks, but fluidity sustains.
Exactly. It's about being flexible, adaptable, and resilient.
So important.
It is.
Recognizing that change is inevitable,
Right.
and our ability to adapt is crucial to our growth and evolution.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So she encourages us to embrace that fluidity of life, let go of rigid expectations, and trust that we'll find our way.
Even when the path ahead seems uncertain.
It's beautiful.
It is a reminder that we don't have to have it all figured out.
Right.
We can embrace the unknown and trust the process.
So surrender to the flow of life, knowing that even when we encounter obstacles, we can find a way to move forward.
Now, as we reflect on Keke's journey and the insights she shares in Master of Me, what resonated most with you?
What lessons or stories stood out for you?
Was it her emphasis on owning your narrative?
Right.
Defining success on your own terms?
Or her vulnerability in sharing her struggles with mental health?
Her entrepreneurial spirit, maybe?
Yeah.
Her willingness to create her own path?
Her commitment to authenticity?
Whatever it was,
Yeah.
we encourage you to explore Master of Me further.
It's a book that can grow with you,
Absolutely.
offering new insights every time you read it.
And as you go about your day, think about what it means to be like water in your own life.
How can you embrace flexibility and adaptability,
How can you trust the flow of life?
even when things feel uncertain,
Remember, you have the power to shape your own destiny.
to create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling?
Embrace your individuality
Trust your instincts.
and never stop growing.
That's it for this deep dive.
So much fun.
We hope you enjoyed exploring Keke Palmer's Master of Me with us.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.